So yesterday we learned like how we can use GlideRecord with business tool, and like we had one scenario where whenever there is a problem record, all the child incidents should be in resolved or closed or cancelled. Then only we can close that problem. So let me show you that particular example. So in this particular flow designer, we are running a repeatedly we are running a scheduled job. Okay, so every 1 hour that will check whether there are any unassigned records or not. If there are any unassigned records, by default they will be assigning to L1 support. So what happens if we assign to L1 support is they will be whoever like that particular group members, they will pick that particular incident, and they will triage it, check what is the issue and what is the right team they have to assign it. Okay, so that the actual team which it belongs to that particular issue, they can work on that. Okay, so the flow which have so this flow will run every 1 hour. Okay, the trigger is repeats, which repeats every 1 hour, and here we are updating multiple records if the condition is matches. What is the condition? It is not loaded yet. It might take some time to load sometimes. So the condition was assignment group is empty and assigned to is empty. So then we are updating. Okay. So which is inactive, assignment group is empty and assigned to is empty. Then we are updating the assignment group to L1 support. Okay. So this is the flow designer. So whenever you want to see uh, like what are the records got updated whenever this flow ran, so you can go to execution, okay, and open it. So whenever if you are trying to open any flows and if it is not opening, then we need to set the system property. Let me open this system property. Ideally it should come yesterday, it came, but in some of the systems this system property won't be set by default. Okay, if it is set, then only we will be able to see this particular execution. So the system property they will give you. Okay, check the system property to open this particular record. Okay, so off means it won't show that particular execution. So we have to change it to on. Okay, once it is on, once it is on and once the flow executes, we can see like if we get any errors in that particular flow or how many records got updated, what are the records got updated. Those information generally we can see in this particular flow designer execution. So for example, now let me execute it. So here all the records got updated already. So we are getting 0 records got updated here and there is no error message. Okay. We can see the execution like this. Okay. Generally, if we write any business rules or like that, we can't see this execution. But we can use this particular flow designer instead of business rules or instead of schedule jobs. Okay, so now I have written this script using this like have achieved it using this flow designer, but same thing, let's achieve it using schedule jobs. Okay, schedule jobs. Okay, so we go to schedule jobs, system definition schedule jobs. So whenever you are creating a schedule job, it will ask what type of schedule jobs you want to create. So basically there are three types of schedule jobs. Okay, one is which we normally use to run script, automatically run script on every few like repeatedly or at a particular time. That is like the automatically which will be running the script. Okay, and first one is automate the generation and distribution of report. So what this particular schedule job does is it will run the run the script, and after running that it will be like based on a table or anything, it will run that, and after running it, it will be sending a report. Okay, sending a report via email. Okay, so and the second one is, so it will create few records automatically from a template, incident or problem or any change, it will create few records automatically. Okay, so first one is to generate a report and send it via email. The second one is to create few records like incident records or problem records or change records on a timely manner. That is the second one. And third one is we can write any script. That particular script will be running based on what time we have. So I'm selecting the third one, running a script. Okay. So now I need to assign the assign groups to L1 support. That is my requirement. So I want to run it every 1 hour. Okay, this is 1 hour. This is like how many minutes and how many seconds. So you can even select the time zone. Okay, like in which time zone you want to run it. Okay, so for example, as of now, let me give 1 hour. So I want to check assign unassigned groups on incident to L1 support. So first I need to glide the incident and check. I need to glide the incident and check what are unassigned groups. For example, unassigned groups means active equals true. The assignment group is empty, and assigned to is empty. So assignment group should be empty and assigned to is empty. Then we want to assign to L1 support. So if I run it, as of now we don't have any records because this particular flow designer is running. Let me deactivate so that it won't run, and let me just remove this. Okay, so that we'll get some results and we can update you. So if for the condition active equals true, assignment group is empty and assigned to empty, we're getting few records. Okay. So through the script, if we want to get these records and update each record, we have to use GlideRecord. Okay. So we have to glide this record and give this particular condition. Okay. So what I did, I have copied the encoded query. Okay. Have copy query. So after, so you need to right click on the last one. Okay. So if you right click on this one, you will only get active equals true and assignment group is empty. So whenever you are copying, you need to copy on the last filter so that you will get the entire query. Okay. So now I want to glide incident. So after gliding the incident, I want to get, so I want to add the query. Okay. Either what we can do, we can keep add encoded query. So here we have conditional as well, right? So we can even use conditional as well. So what is this conditional will do? Until and unless this particular condition matches, this script won't run. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll keep it here, add encoded query. So add encoded query and I need to paste this particular query. Okay. So I'm writing the code in condition. Okay. So what this particular condition will check? If it returns true in the last statement, then only it will run this particular script. Okay. Now inc dot query and inc. So here it will only check for the condition. It will, this condition part will run only once. Okay. So here it will return, if it returns true, then only this particular script will run. So I'll check if this particular query will return me at least one record. Okay. If it has at least one record, then only I'll go here and run this script. Okay. So we have a method which will check, which will tell us if it has at least one record. So the method name is has next. So has next will, what it will check is, can it iterate? Can it iterate at least if it has one record, it will return true. Okay, if it returns true, then only this particular script will run. Okay, we can use the same object in the schedule job, which is there. Okay, so in this run script, what I am doing, I am looping. So if it has at least one record, it will come down, and I am looping through each of these records. Okay, so while inc dot next means here we will be actually going through each of the record in this particular while. Okay, we'll go through the each of the record here, and in this, what we want to do, we want to assign this particular assignment group to L1 support. Okay, so we want to update that. Okay, we want to update assignment group to L1 support. So let me get one record and let's check what is the backend name. So already we have the backend name of assignment group is assignment underscore group here. You can use the same. Otherwise, what you can do, you can open one record and check what is the backend name of assignment group. Okay. So assignment underscore group. Okay. So here I want to assign assignment group to L1 support. So as this is a reference field, okay, this is a reference field. Either we have to give the sys ID of that particular record, which is L1 support. For example, if I select L1 support, okay, if I give L1 support, either the sys of this particular L1 support I have to give, which is something like this. Okay, you can give it like this, or we can even use inc.setDisplayValue of L1 support. Okay, either this particular statement we can use, or if you don't want to do like this, then what you can do in inc.set display value of this particular L1 support. Okay. So if you use inc.setDisplayValue of L1 support, what will be the disadvantages in future? For example, they want to change the name of L1 support to something else. The members will be same and the roles will be the same, but I just want to change the name of L1 support to some L2 support or something like that. But like for example, if I change it to L2 support, the code, okay, the code won't know that we have changed, but the sys of this particular record remains same. Okay, so I'll not use this. Okay, as it has the disadvantage of if someone changes this particular L1 support name to something else, it won't run. Okay, but the same record, if they change something and if you give the sys, it will still run, right? So you have to understand that whenever you are creating groups in every instance, whether it's dev or a prod or test instance, every instance should have this sys only for this particular record. Okay, so how we can achieve that, or how we can monitor like it having same? So whenever you create a new group, you have to export this particular group, okay, and import in new instance, so that it will, that particular test instance or UAT instance will also have the same sys. Okay, so generally we do the development in developer instance. Okay, after developing it, whenever, so these groups and users won't be captured in the update sets, so you have to manually export it. Okay, manually export this particular XML and import it in test instance. Okay, then only this particular sys will be saved, and then only this particular code will run. Okay, so I have given the assignment group as L1 support sys as it's a reference record, and I'm updating here. Okay, so we have 7 incidents whose assignment group is empty. So whenever you want to execute it, like if you want to test for manually if it is working or not, you can click on execute now. But ideally for every 1 hour it will run if it is active. Okay, if you don't want it to run, then you can make it active false. Okay, so any business rule or any script, if you make it active false, it won't run. So I want to test it now, so I'm clicking on execute now. Okay, so now if I check with this particular query, so all the assignment groups should be updated for, by now. So I'm not getting any records. Okay, so let me check what are the recently updated. So it updated to L2 support. Okay, why it updated to L2 support? Because I have changed the name, but I am referencing with the sys. Okay, so those changed to L2 support. Is everyone got what I did? Is there any doubts in this particular code? Hello? Hello? Any doubts here? I'm considering there are no doubts.
Yes, Sunil, I have a doubt.
Yeah, tell me.
So Sunil, here in the schedule job, we have mentioned it as daily, right?
Yes.
So in the business in the production, when we say daily, uh, like if you want to run the schedule job based on the only working hours or something like that, if there are any business holidays, we would like to exclude the schedule job. In those kind of scenarios, what is recommended?
So if it means daily, for example, generally business working hours, for example, let's assume the production instance of this particular company is in India, okay, where agents will be working from the morning to evening, but we want to run it in the night. That means like daily at 1 o'clock it will run, okay. Okay, daily at 1 o'clock, this particular script will run. So 1 o'clock means it's the one in the night. Okay.
Mhm.
If it is 12 or 13 means that is afternoon.
Okay.
Okay. So if you give daily at 1 o'clock, that means in the midnight. So actually it shouldn't cause a problem. So you have to understand what are the particular executions are happening at that particular time in order to avoid the load. Okay, you can check uh, uh, like what are the other things are running, what are other scheduled jobs running. So you can give like half an hour, like 15 minutes time gap, so that all the impact won't be there on the same time. So and you shouldn't give the business working time. So you should understand in what time zone your company is working, and if you want only to be run in the night, so you have to give the particular night time where no agents will be working on that and it won't affect the customers. Okay, in some cases, for example, this particular example, so this is a very lightweight code, it may not affect much, and we want uh, for every 15 minutes to be like every 15 minutes this particular script should run. Okay, so we have here other option which is periodically. Okay, so whenever you give periodically, here it will, here the repeat interval it will ask like how many like for example every 15 minutes I want to run it, you have to give 15 minutes here. If you want every
Okay.
1 hour to be run, you have to give one here. Okay, for example if you want to run it every 2 days, you have to give 2 days here. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, if you want to run weekly, you can give weekly and uh, give the day on which day it should run. Okay, like that. On what time it should run, like that. Okay, you can give that.
Okay.
Okay. So some things like will be there where entry start and entry end in the business calendar. Like for example, if you want to send a reminder every month end, you can give business and business calendar entry and like that. Okay. No, mm, no. So this is not the one. So if you want any uh, So any scheduled jobs to be run on the last day of the end. Like for example, this month end it should run. You can give 31. Okay. Even like if you give 31, even if there is any like 30 days or 28 days in a month, it will only run on the last day. Okay. If you want to run on the last day, you can give always you can give 31 as a date, so that it will always run at the month end. Okay. Did you get it?
Yes, yes, Sunil, I got it.
Mostly we'll be running daily or periodically. Okay. So daily, if you want to run only once in a day, and periodically means every half an hour or 15 minutes. If you want to run, then you can use periodically.
Okay, and Sunil, like, can we call the scheduled jobs from any business role also? Like, if any on a condition, I'm not sure, but I feel that I have observed we call scheduled jobs from business roles also.
Yeah, like we can call. So ideally, what will be what? So generally, we won't call these scheduled jobs from business rule, but we will be calling transform scheduled jobs. I'll show you. For example, so there will be. I didn't remember the name. There will be scheduled jobs which will be running those transform maps, right? What is the name? I didn't get.
Import sets.
What scheduled jobs? So there is scheduled imports, right? Okay. So there is scheduled imports. So what the scheduled imports will do? So so this will be running on the daily basis or whatever the time we give, weekly or once or periodically. Okay. So this will select this particular data source and it will run that particular scheduled job. Okay, generally. So I assume that most of you know the scheduled jobs. So schedule this data sources. So data sources generally this import sets and data sources. Why we use this? For example, we have Excel file and we want to update those records. Okay. So for example, this particular data we are getting from this data is getting updated from LDAP user or LDAP group. Okay. So that is the data source. Data source means from where this particular data is coming. So we want to run that particular data and update on our system. For example, we want to update those groups, whatever there are in LDAP. So manually we won't be running that. So for example, here if you can see it is not active true. If it is active true, it will run automatically. But when something happens or if we know that it has to run, then what we can do, we can execute this. So how we can execute through the script is, so like for example, if you want to execute this from any of the scripts in order to get the latest data, so we normally click on execute now manually, right? So in order to execute that, we have to go to the So if you know it, any button is UI action. So whatever the code in the UI action is running in order to execute this particular schedule data import or any schedule job. Okay. So let's open what is that particular code gets run when this particular execute now button click. Okay. So on which table I am now? I am on this particular sysauto script table. Okay. And I want to check for execute now. Like whenever I click on execute now, what is getting happened? Okay. So for that button, in order to check that button, I'll go to UI action. Okay. The UI action table is this and name is execute now. So in that particular table, we don't have, maybe on the parent tables, we might have some schedule job. Okay. So if we can't find from here, what we can do, we can go here and configure UI actions. Okay. So that we'll get all the things which are getting applied here. Okay. So here, what, like if you click on from there, what it is applying, either table is sysauto script or is one of sysauto or sysmetadata or sysauto script. So how it is getting all these are like these are parent tables of this. Okay. So UI actions will also apply to child tables as well. Okay. So you can see here there is one button which is execute now. Okay. Which is referring, which might be referring to this particular thing. Okay. Okay. So what? So it is checking few conditions. Current dot is new record. Okay. So current dot is new record of not means if it is new record, we won't show this button. Okay. If it is already submitted form, then only we want to show this. That's why I have written not current dot is new record, and it is trying to get some element and where if there is attribute called disable execute now, then it won't show. Okay. Maybe this attribute we might be applying in the table level. So for now it's leaving. So on click of it, what is getting executed? So SN trigger synchronizer execute now of current. Okay. So this particular code is getting used in order to trigger it. Okay. So if you want to trigger from any of the business rule or script include or from any script, you have to pass. So what you have to pass? You have to use this particular code. SNC trigger synchronizer dot execute now. In the current, what you have to give in the current, you have to actually glide this particular. You have to glide this particular schedule job. Where is that particular schedule? So if you want to run this from any of the script, you have to pass this script. So how you can pass this particular schedule job is you have to glide this sysauto script, and you might use this name in order to get this particular record, and in that particular as a parameter you will be passing that particular glide record. Okay, in the current place, and you can use SNC trigger synchronize dot execute now of that particular GR so that you can run from any of the script. Okay. Did you get it?
Yes, Sunil.
So generally, we won't be using this particular schedule job to run, but we can use any scheduled data imports or anything like that. Okay. For those we'll be using. So let's see any other example. So let's talk about few of the GlideRecord APIs today. Okay. From tomorrow, I'll start what is client script, what is business, what types of what types are there. So those we can tell, I'll tell you with few examples. Okay. So if you go to developer.servicenow.com and in the reference, in the EPS, I want whether you want server scope or server globe. So like if you are working on a global instance, global scope, you can select the global. If you are working in a scope application, you can select scope. Okay. There will be few differences between global application and scope applications. Okay. So generally, most of the people works on global, but uh, now it is changing. Everyone started working on the scope applications as well. So you should know. So what will be the differences if you use scope applications? Okay. As of now, I'll select global and which API I want to know about, which is GlideRecord. Okay. So this is the GlideRecord API. So you can read about what is GlideRecord. Okay. And what are the methods we have here. Okay. So generally, GlideRecord is API used for database operations. What are the database operations in order to read any of the table records or in order to update or even if you want to delete. Okay. Even if you want to insert a new record for these operations, we'll be using GlideRecord API. You can read about all these. Okay. So whenever you want to insert a new record, you will use insert. In order to update, we'll be using update. If you want to delete only one record, you can use delete a record. If you want to delete all the records at once, you can use delete multiple. Okay. So delete multiple is a we shouldn't use as it's a bad practice. Okay. So we know like generally retrieve whenever you want to retrieve any records, we can use get value or get display value, or we can directly dot work. Okay, for example, I'm an incident. So writing this particular business rule. Let's say it runs every time after update. And I want to get, for example, caller is there, right? So in the caller, I want to get the department. Okay. What is the particular department of this? user. Okay, so we are on incident table, but we want to get the department of caller. Okay, here. So how we can get the department of caller is, so we have the objects available, which is current and previous. So current is for current values which are on the record. Previous is before updation. What are the values? That is previous. Okay. So I want to get what is the current like current user department. So if you say current dot field name, so this is all form is current. In that you have to point some field, right? So which field we want? So the caller ID is the field. Okay. So the caller ID is the field. Caller ID is a field. So in that particular caller ID, for example, I want department ID. So current dot caller ID means caller ID field came. Okay. So in that you want, in that I want department. So I have to do the dot work with the department. Okay. So dot department. So if I say just dot department, I'll be getting the sys of this department, but I don't want the sys. What I want, this particular name. Okay, I want the name. Okay, so generally, whenever we dot work, it will be returning the object. So we can use dot to string whenever we dot work. Okay, so that we'll be getting this. Actually, we'll get that particular value as a string. Okay, so for example, let's check whether I'm able to get the department or not. So in order to show, I'm using add info message. So when this particular business rule will run, after updation of something, and let me add something called caller ID is not empty. Caller is not empty. Okay. For example, I have updated something called description, and I'm saving it so that it will run. So department of caller is finance. Okay. So how I got it? I did dot walking. Okay. So in server side scripts, in everywhere we can use the dot walking. So what I did, current dot caller ID dot department, as department is also a reference, I took the name. Okay. Is everyone got how we can dot walk and get the information which you want? Or any other doubts?
Like Sunil, may I know why did you use toString?
Why? Why we use toString? I didn't get you.
Like why did you use toString?
Okay. So for example, even if I don't use it, it will still come. Okay. For example, I didn't use toString now. And if I update to something else, still it will come. But the cases which it won't work, I'll tell you. Because so here we are printing it. So actually it will try to convert into a string. Okay. For example, with the department, I want some other information as well. Okay. For example, so in few cases it won't work. Those cases I'll tell you. For example, let me change the example to show where it won't work. If you use dot toString, if you won't give where it won't work, I'll show you. For example, this is the incident and we want callers department in the each of those particular records. Okay. So for example, I want each of the users department with the name. Okay. For example, I am gliding. So this particular script will run on only one record, but I want all the users records. Okay. I don't want only one record. I want all the users with some condition active equals true or something like that. Okay. So for example, the condition is let me keep the condition as so we have 19 records. With this condition, I want all the users with caller ID. What is that department? Okay. So first, let me glide this. So as others who will be seeing this particular query, if state 2 means they won't be able to understand by reading this, right? So I gave state is in progress. I have written so that whenever we come back and read this code, we should be able to understand what we have written. Okay. So here I want to store the users and their, for example, we have where caller names is one array, where department is one array. Okay. So caller name is where caller is dot name. Okay. And department is so I got the department. Okay. Okay, departments. Okay, so I'm getting each user's caller and department here. I want to push it here in the caller names and in the department name. So while loop will run, but this variable will always replace this. For example, each time we are creating a new variable. So what I want to do, I want to just push into caller so that we'll have those values. Okay. Department dot push department. Okay. So I am pushing each caller and department. Okay. So now I want to see all the departments for the users. Okay. For example, let me use gs dot add info message. So let's assume that as of now I'm only printing departments. Let's print we can print with each color. I can print the department as well, but as of now I'm just printing the departments to see whether it will run or not. Okay. So in order to run this particular business rule, let me update something. So if you see here, for each of the colors, the department might be different, but every time I got finance itself. Okay, for all the users, I got finance itself. And even if you print this caller ID, caller IDs are caller names. So if I update something, the caller ID, every time I'm getting system administrator itself and department is finance itself. Like let me try to open any other record and let's check what is I'm getting there. So let me update something here. So I'm getting Fred ID and department is development. Okay. So what might be the error here? We want every users, right? Not the current users. Okay, sorry, I have written current here. It should be INCGR. Okay. So we should use INCGR because we have to loop through each of the record, not the current record. Okay. So now let me just refresh it and try to update something. Caller, here I got properly itself, but ideally what happens is as it's okay. So here now it's working fine, but in some cases what happens, it will only take the first first or the last value and it will update the same everywhere. Why? Because it's an object and whenever here it's working in, but in some cases until and unless you give dot to string it won't work because it is an object and it will refer to that particular object itself. Okay, so maybe because I'm creating a new, let me check if I can achieve that. In very rare cases we'll get that, but actually it's a good practice to use dot to string. Okay.
So Sunil, whenever we do dot working, we should use sourcing.
Yeah, if you use dot to string, it will convert to string. But if you don't use dot working, it will be the object. And if you insert that particular object, it might not insert the string, it might insert the object, and we might see the same result. Okay, we might see the same value. We might see the same value whenever we are inserting or whenever we are comparing. Okay, so that's why like it's good to it's good practice to use dart to string, because uh, in the backend it will be returning the object. Even I can show you what it is returning. Okay, so I'll show you what type of data it returns now here. So if you see here, type is object. Okay,
Okay, sir. Got it.
it is not a string. So we ideally we insert the strings. We don't insert objects. So here, as it's like string, it is automatically converted into a string. Okay, but in most of the cases, it might not work in some cases. So like whenever it doesn't work, you can use dart to string. But instead of going back, it's just best practice to use dart to string. Okay, got it. So actually, it returns a object, not any string. So that's why we need to convert it to string whenever we are pushing or whenever we are comparing, so that we'll have a valid value. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So you can go through these other functions which are there. So we have add active query. So generally, add active query, when we use this, instead of using active true, like generally we use add query active comma true, right? Instead of using that, we can directly use add active query. Okay, so that we don't need to use add query active comma true. We can use this one. Okay, just I'll try to replace this in our business rule. Okay, so here I'm giving active true state command like active equals true and state is true, right? So instead of writing like this, what I can do, incgr dot add active query. That means it will active equals true, it will apply. Okay, I don't need to give active comma true. I can directly give incident gr dot add active query. Okay, and what is the other query I need to give? incgr dot add query, state is true. Okay, which is same as this one. Okay, you can even write like this or like this. So this particular add active query, how generally we'll write is, we'll say add query, and we'll give active as a field, and we can give true. So instead of giving like that, we can directly give add active query. Okay. So there are other functions. Maybe this add domain query is related to domain. I didn't work on domain separations. So it will be useful, like if you want to get the value of any user of that particular domain itself. Okay, that I didn't work on. Let's check. So add encoded query, we know. So instead of giving each field and value, we can, if we can give directly encoded query, then it will return the record. Okay. So whenever you are giving encoded query, okay, I'll show you. For example, let me copy it and check in background script. So let's say I'm using encoded query. Okay. And here I want to print the number. So here I am trying to print instead number by adding this particular query. So I got few incidents here. Let's say there is some mistake in the particular query. So instead of this particular and, I give something like this. Okay. So now I'm getting lot more records. For example, let's go back and check how many records they are getting. So initially I was getting 19 records, but I wrote something wrong here. Now I am getting 27 records. Okay. Otherwise, for example, if I write something like this, I'm getting 67 records. Okay. So it is trying to read, but because of some error in that particular add encoded query, it is returning more records. Like 67, I guess it's all the records are 67, right? So it is returning all the records. Okay. In the production system, it will have millions and crores of records. Okay. So you shouldn't write any encoded query wrongly. Okay. So you should recheck anything if you whenever you are writing these queries or encoded queries. Okay. So whenever there are invalid queries, if you want any like if you want no rows to be populated, for example, if there is invalid query, I don't want any rows to be populated. Okay, if it is invalid, I don't want anything to be come. So generally, if it is invalid query, it is returning all the records. But in the production, what happens? There are million records. It will only take all that particular system power. Okay. So because of that, our server gets busy and no one will be able to log in that particular instance, or everything, if you try to open, it will become slow. So in order to avoid these delays and performance issues, what we can do, there is a system property. So how we can go to system properties, sys_properties.list. So if there is any system property like this, we can update it. Otherwise, we can create system property with this particular name and set the value to true. Now, if I run this, it didn't give any result. Why? Because I have updated the system property to true, which is glide.invalid query return no rows. So if there is invalid query, it doesn't return anything. So always it's best to have these kind of properties so that any new join is write some invalid queries, it won't run these records. So even we faced one scenario where there were deleting records, but the query was invalid. So because of that, all the records in that particular incident record got deleted, and that was on scheduled job. So the incident was getting created, and after 1 hour, they were getting deleted automatically. So why that was happening is we were deleting all the records because of invalid query. So it is always better to have this particular query. If anyone writes in an invalid query, it won't return any particular record instead of returning all the records. Okay. So you can go through these functions. So add inactive queries, active false. Okay, add giant query is something like if you want to glide two tables at the same time, you can use add giant query. General, even I didn't use this. Okay, there are so many methods in this. You can go through these. Can create and can read. We will be using it in UA actions. Okay, if they have access to delete, then only we can show them delete button. Okay, if they have access to update, then only we can show that particular button. Like this, we can use this can read, can delete, can create. Okay. So there are many other classes. You can go through these and practice on your own. Okay. Any doubts?